Indie games are becoming the true pillar of creativity in the video game industry. You could argue that they have been for well over a decade, or even longer, spanning over many different genres in many different styles, but in the AAA industry, you get so many carbon copies of formulas that are pre-established and work well, and sell, hence why we get so many of them. But like many people, I am tired of how many third-person narrative action games that are being made by Sony. And he only stuck to AAA gaming, you would feel all games made nowadays are this carbon copy formula, but that's where indie games come in. I don't feel like I need to tell most of you, but indie games are massive now, and for a damn good reason. Some of the most unique, creative, and best games in recent memory are from indie creators. Genres long forgotten from AAA industry, such as platformers and Metroidvanias, were brought back and made people realise that they didn't go away because they weren't good, they just needed fresh and creative ideas to bring them back into the spotlight. Hollow Knight is the best example of this, essentially revitalising the Metroidvania genre to what it is today. But the rise of so many incredible indie games is a bit of a double-edged sword, as even though we have so many incredible video games to play, more than we have time to play. Because there's so many games released, it's quite easy for a game to get lost in the mix, because for every indie darling such as Hollow Knight and Outer Wilds, games that rightfully get their flowers, there's also incredible games such as Nine Souls and Crosscode, but if you were to ask many video game enjoyers, they probably wouldn't have a clue what these games were, and that's where YouTube comes in. As when it comes to highlighting the amazing video games that get lost in the endless ocean, here I am, obnoxious YouTube man, who spends far too much time indulging myself in video games, and today I want to highlight another game that just needs some more attention, as this game looks incredibly creative and a lot of fun. And that of course is Mouse PI for Hire. So what is Mouse PI for Hire? Well, if you haven't heard of it, then that's no surprise, and that's why I'm here. But if you have, I doubt you have forgot it. Mouse PI for Hire is a first-person shooter that immediately jumps out to you with its art style. The game goes for a hand-drawn rubber hose animation style from the 1930s, which is a very unique style which has only been seen in a handful of games before, most notably in the indie masterpiece that is Cuphead. And there's a reason we don't see many of these, as if you've seen the making of how Cuphead was made, it's no surprise that we don't get many games like this. As the time and effort put into a game like this is absolutely absurd. I mean, you can say this about any game, but seeing how every animation was drawn from hand and how many of these animations were drawn, yeah, man, I wish I could only have the patience for this. But alas, this tangent is a way of saying we don't get a lot of these games, so Mouse really stood out to me. As with it being a first-person shooter as well, when pretty much every first-person shooter on the market looks like this, it really is refreshing to see indie creators making the first-person shooter we've all really wanted, Mouse of Duty. So yeah, there's no looking round it, Mouse PI for Hire looks like it's a lawsuit from Disney waiting to happen, but with certain licenses expiring, I think Fumi Games are safe from House of Mouse, for now anyways. So the game has a great unique art style, but what does it play like? So from the gameplay plays closely to something like Bioshock, as with the tight shooting and linear design, but more so the wacky powers you can use. As with Bioshock, you can shoot fire, electricity, even crows, but with Mouse, you can shoot bullets from your hands, make yourself stronger by eating spinach just like Popeye, fly in the air with a helicopter, and even use your tail as a grappling hook. So it's clear that Fumi Games have established that they have a lot of wacky ideas to keep this game fresh. But that begs the question, who are Fumi Games and what are their credentials? As games are very much a luxury, and asking people to hand over their hard-earned money on a game from an unproven studio, but that's what Fumi Games are. So who are Fumi Games? Well, there's not a lot of info out there about them, but they're a new independent studio based in Poland, and they're working both on Mouse PI for Hire and a game called Galaxy Taxi, which seems quite a bit different than Mouse, as that is trying to be an action platformer. But even though that's not the game we're talking about today, to me at least, the fact that Fumi Games are working on two highly ambitious games speak about how ambitious they are as a studio and how much creativity they clearly have, and are willing to reach for the stars with fun and original ideas, as opposed to going for the easy option. So despite their lack of proven work, I think the sheer potential of what has already been shown and what could be coming from them in the future. But that's just me. I am a naive optimist when it comes to cool looking games and promising creatives. So if the game ends up being a bomb, then that's on me. But based on what we have seen so far, and based on my previous track record, I have a lot of faith in what we have seen so far. but feel free to come back to this video and clown on me if I'm majorly off the mark. So what is the story of Mouse PI, as the game looks great and it seems to play great, but what is the set piece sending you from A to B? Well, you play as Jack Pepper, a World War I veteran turned private investigator who's uncovering the corruption of the city of Mouseburg, as he gets pulled into a conspiracy which involves murder and corruption. This all has a dark noir setting, and that's what you get for the story in Mouse PI. This all seems rather basic, but there's nothing wrong with that, as long as the other aspects of the game can pull their own weight, and from what I've seen so far, I think that's likely. But that's not where this ends, as recently it was confirmed that Troy Baker will be voicing Jack Pepper, the main character of the game, and there might be a few people out there asking who even Troy Baker is, and why does this matter? Well, Troy Baker, for the ones who don't know, he is the video game voice actor you think of, main character in the game. Yeah, that was probably him. Joking aside, he is one of the most famous and popular voice actors in the space, some of his most notable roles being Kanji in Persona 4, Sam for Uncharted 4, and his most famous role, Joel from The Last of Us, which I personally think he kills it in all of these roles, and the fact that he's given his talent to this game will only elevate the package. But there's another reason why his role in this project is a good thing, and this is a little bit of speculation on my end, but stay with me. So Troy Baker being a top talent in the voice acting world, I imagine he wouldn't come cheap, so how would a brand new indie studio be able to expend funds with him? Well, if Sandfall's experience making Expedition 33 is something to go on, I might have some idea. With the talent that they were able to have in that game was due to the heavy funding, due to the game's quality while it was in development, so they were able to use their marketing budget to bring in Charlie Cox and Andy Serkis. So although Troy Baker isn't Hollywood A-lister, he's still a big deal. So the fact a small indie studio was able to bring him in, maybe this game has heavy funding due to the potential of the project. But that's just speculation. But either way, it's worth keeping your eyes out for Mouse, as I believe it has a lot of potential, and with Gamescom just around the corner, I wouldn't be surprised if we got a release date there. But for now, the game has a broad release date of 2025 for PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and a potential Switch 2 version coming later down the line. Hopefully it does release this year, as this is the type of indie that proves that the industry isn't just the same old slop copy and pasted year after year, and further proves that the indie scene is the future of this industry. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you, I really do appreciate it. If you liked the video, please consider liking and subscribing, as it helps a small channel like mine out massively, and let me know if you're excited for Mouse PI for hire. But thank you again for watching, and hopefully I will see you again.